I'm like dancing, like you can actually hear the music, but there's no music.
There was none, but we were in the same rhythm.
Yep. But in real life, like when people are listening to the podcast, they hear Random Thought Pod, which I believe
I was dancing to something else.
My son Zandy doing that voice. So
yeah.
Probably sounds like me too. Yeah.
Probably does.
He has a great voice. Oh. Listen to his band Tirefall on
Tirefall.
Yeah, Tirefall on Apple Music and Spotify. I'll link that in the show notes. Welcome to the Random Thought Pod. I am your random thought leader, Bridge Livwat, and I am here with The Girl.
I'm your random thought follower, representing all female kind.
All female kind.
All of it. Even your pets.
All right. I wanted to open this talking about pretty privilege. And I made a tweet about this, and I was like, honestly, if she's too beautiful, I am intimidated, and it's probably not going to work because she holds some sort of power over me. Maybe I need mid on looks, whatever that is. I think that's such a dumb term to use, but I'm just kind of like, okay, it's not, maybe for me, mid is like not scary. Not scary pretty, just like tolerable pretty. But absolute, you took some
strong notes from Mr. Darcy there that she's tolerably pretty.
Who's that?
The Jane Austen fan somewhere will appreciate that. Never mind.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry. Went off.
Those are books, eh?
Those are books.
Yeah. I read books, but not those books.
That's okay.
If we don't go with the other title, that's going to be the total title. But it's just if that other thing comes up, because that was a really good title.
It was funny.
So you guys, like, I was going to say you guys stay tuned to hear what the title is, but like, no. You guys already know what the title is, but I don't know what the title is.
We don't know.
Time travel to that point in time yet. But the people that are listening have already time traveled to that point, and so they know things that we don't know. So
I mean,
actually,
they know,
listener,
and it hasn't even happened yet.
Hasn't even happened
what we don't know
in our reality, but in their reality, it's already happened.
That's not cool.
Time is
right, but you need mid-level pretty.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing me back.
Hey, try.
Oh, by the way, I learned something cool about ADHD. It's called dolphining. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So dolphining is like where like you and I are talking about something and you're like saying something and then I just have like this cool epiphany. Right? And I connect it to this, to this, to this, to this, to this. And then I dolphin out of the water.
Okay.
And I'm glorious and beautiful. And I say something that you're sitting there saying, that has nothing to do with anything I said. But I'm like, no. Connection. Dolphin out. Here we go.
Dolphin out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's like, and they say like ADHD people do that all the time. And it's one of the cool things that ADHD people do is they're always linking the now, like the little things that we're talking about, to some bigger narrative. So I'm like, I might be ADHD because I do that like maybe 100% of the time.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Feels right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways. And you know what? I'm not going to apologize for it anymore. I've been so apologetic about it. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe I'll apologize. I'm still Canadian. So
you're still Canadian.
All right. So she be mid.
Yeah.
Okay. But absolute perfection intellectually, socially, and compassionately. That's a pretty good list.
I like that mix. That's good.
Okay. So my friend, I'm going to put her name in the show notes because you should follow her. Her name looks like super Russian and it's cool. Her name is actually pronounced Mavi Luhan. She actually voice messaged me to tell me what her name is. And
that's sweet.
I love her voice.
That's good.
And I said, I love your voice. And she's like, I love yours too. And I think we're voice crushes. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll put her link in the show notes. But this is what she said. Man, I'm taking forever to get through this.
I'm here for the ride.
You guys aren't bored. I hope you people from the future are not bored.
We're gonna get it back. I promise.
I am an artifact of your past. All right.
Good.
So this is what she said. That's what she said. Would it help you to know that beautiful women piss and bleed and get mud butts sometimes? See, this woman is a genius.
That's perfect. That's absolutely
I love how,
perfect.
just how blunt she is. She's wonderful. Okay, anyways.
I've used that when I've been like, oh, someone's so much better than me, or like they're just, and I'm like, no, that person has had violent diarrhea at least once, but probably many more times in their life. We're equals.
But this gave me pause though, and I said, yeah, maybe I should be kinder to them, which is so funny because it's like, Bridge, you need to be kinder to pretty people.
I'm never going to say that, but
yeah, I know, it's weird. Also, I'm thinking of going away from Bridge and being Howie. We'll see.
Oh.
There might be a name change. We'll see.
Oh, boy. All right.
And there's a whole lot of reasons for that.
It's a whole lot.
That we can talk about off the podcast because it's
sure.
not public knowledge yet. Okay.
And by the way, I know I said I don't listen to episodes I'm not on, but I listened to the Drugs and Jesus or Jesus and Drugs episode.
Yeah.
So good. Great conversation, bro. Like, that was really good.
Thank you. I love that guy.
Big fan.
Oh my gosh. And I think the clip that I've pinned on Twitter, which will not be pinned for those future people.
It'll be gone.
Future people.
You missed it.
That out. He talks about how the church needs to stop talking and begin listening. And I'm like, this.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, I was like, maybe I should be kinder to them. Legit. Like, by nature, I am too intimidated to be around them too much. Like, I literally don't want to look them in the eye. I'm just like, hey, hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked down, guys. That's your descriptive video, I think. Yeah. Accessibility. Like, legitimately, there were two people I wanted to have on the podcast, but they said, I want accessibility. I want to have, like, words, screen, closed captioning.
Yeah.
And I tried to make it happen, and I'm like, I just can't. Like, I don't have the time to do it. I can't possibly do closed captioning. So I would have invited Shannon Dingle, who's, like, one of my favorite people ever, on the podcast. But the thing hindering me is I don't have closed captioning. And she's insistent on that, which is totally fair. And so that's what's stopping me. But I love her so much. Like, I cannot stop thinking about, and I use it all the time. Doesn't matter if it's an ocean or a puddle. Drowning is still drowning.
Absolutely.
And I'm scared to quote her on that because that's how her husband passed away. So I'm like, I don't want to, like, re-traumatize her by saying that, because I think she even wrote that before he passed away.
I don't remember, but I just know how strongly, I mean, even years ago in the election, that she was like, all your freaking blue wave tweets are too much for me. And, like, it's not even really talking about water. It's not a real, and I was like, I can only be responsible for what I know hurts somebody else.
Yes.
But I was like, okay, it's not out to get her. But if someone tells you this thing that you're doing hurts, I think you should stop,
Well, I feel the same way about, like, from the river to the sea. Did I say it right? I just used a slur.
So. Is it?
No. Okay, what
I'm bad about it.
Palestine.
Yeah.
And they say from the river to the sea, which I think means that Palestine should go from the river to the sea, which means you want to genocide the Israelis, right?
Right.
And so a lot of people on the left are saying that's dumb. That doesn't mean genocide. We can say it all we want. I'm like, you guys are sounding a lot like the right now, especially if a Jewish person's saying don't say that. I've had people say some dumb things that they're like, don't say that. That's hurtful. And I'd be like, well, that's really dumb. But I'm like, I didn't say that. But I'm just like, okay, I won't say that. Like,
yeah.
Even if it's really dumb, just don't say that. Why traumatize people? Why be accused of traumatizing people? And it's like, oh no, we can't say anything. It's like, come on. You don't need to go
say plenty of things.
Fox comedy special now.
Fox comedy.
My my pronouns are. I don't know. Whatever. I can't remember all the Roseanne jokes. I wanted to watch that whole comedy special because I just thought it was so stupid, but it just wasn't the Lord's will. So.
It was not destined.
This is like when I'm like, I'll make a tweet that's like a joke, and then afterwards I'll be like, I'm praying that people laugh at that.
When you said, I can't even remember what you said, something about fixing people, and I was like, it's real rude to handyman. Awesome. I might have been a little bit off, and I was like, I hope he gets the joke. Like he's not like, oh my God, am I offending people?
Yeah, no, that was fantastic.
I wanted that to be hilarious.
I love it when I do something like dead serious and like something dead serious and deep that I think is like world changing. I'll say something like that, and then someone will make a joke on it. And I'm like,
do you actually like that? I hate that, and yet I do it. Like part of
me, I think would be hilarious for me to respond as if I'm offended. Still, that you would make such a joke. Like that would be hilarious.
You would have to tell me on the side, like, this is a character right now. I'm not mad. Otherwise, I will just throw up and drive to Canada and just find you to apologize.
Okay,
like it'll be bad.
All right. Well.
Yeah. Are we recording?
We're totally recording.
I know it. Just the path is gone.
The path is gone.
We've lost it.
It's all right. They're used to it.
They know. Our
Especially
fan knows.
If they came over from ADD Masterminds.
Yes.
You future people can handle this, I'm sure.
We
in the
believe
future,
in you.
people will be able to handle just how ADD this podcast is, even though it's not called ADD Masterminds. Random Thought Bot.
Yep.
Random Thought Bot. Random Thought Bot.
I can't.
Okay. Anyways. All right. So I should be kinder than them. By nature, too intimidated.
I didn't scroll down far enough. Now I see the list. There we are.
By nature, I'm too offended to be around them too much. And this is what I think is a justification. And so this was me giving a justification, but I'm just like realizing maybe I'm not being kind in saying that. And I think maybe I wonder if people who do have pretty privilege, maybe they don't necessarily experience genuine kindness because there's people that are just like wanting to get with them. So it's like, how do we actually get subsurface with a super hot person? Right.
I mean, it's all currency. So I feel like that's similar to, when people are like, I don't know if they like me for my money or for me, the amount of gorgeous models that men in Hollywood and music date. And I'm like, they can't all be that interesting. They can't all make you laugh. Like, you're just going for pretty girls that you can tolerate for a while. Right. And, half of the time I think, well, maybe they're just a little dopey and think that everybody, gets to the front of the line or, gets what they want. And, the pretty privilege, maybe they don't see it as something that's specifically for them. And I kind of hope that they get to be ignorant on that and just be like, I thought everybody had a great time,
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think honestly, like, and this is going to sound like really not humble, but I was like at home visiting my mom and my dad, and my mom was like, well, when I went to prayer meeting, the ladies there were like 3 ladies that were like, my daughter has a crush on John. And my dad said, yeah, like we were like, we have to get this kid out of his town before he gets someone pregnant. And so like, I'm like looking back and I'm like, was I hot? And like thinking about like, oh my God, like how many of these women like just completely intimidated me and I totally could have got with them.
You could have, but your parents packed you up like a feral cat. Bro.
And I mean, and no regrets. Like, I'm glad I didn't get into trouble, right? And I was like on the verge of being a player when somebody scooped me up. And I got married at 22.
22.
And so, yeah. So, yeah, this is hard to talk about. Anyways, Matt Walsh.
Matt
Matt Walsh,
hard to talk about.
A while ago, and it's funny because like this is a while ago, but I remember I thought the funniest way of telling you that I was suspended from Twitter was to say I got suspended from Twitter for threatening Matt Walsh again.
Again. It's the again.
And like legit, I mean, all it was like he made the first time I threatened him was when I was like, I am not a violent man, but I would like to punch Matt Walsh in the face.
I think
And
that's
that got
fine.
me suspended. Right?
We all have hopes and dreams, and I think it's okay to express them.
Okay, then the second time was when Matt Walsh he tweeted about like these two guys who like were in a courtroom. They had killed a cop.
Yes.
I think they were black. They were probably black.
If he's
I
involved.
don't see color because I'm a conservative. So
Oh, he's stressing me out. Okay.
all I'm saying is make America great again. Okay. And as a Canadian, I believe that for I don't know why, because I'm stupid. But anyways, so Matt Walsh is like tweeting about these two guys because it's like they were like laughing at the family who lost their dad, who was a cop that they killed. And then they were also like giving them the finger in court. And he said, these people serve no purpose in society, and basically said they should be executed. And I replied to him and said, you serve no purpose in society.
It was
Should
so
we
good.
execute you?
It's a question. Just a question.
Legit, it was a question. It wasn't really a threat.
No.
I was just pontificating about
Just
beheading him.
wonderment.
But anyways, so I got suspended for that. And
Yeah.
the funniest thing is that like I went on my Marco Polo because I'm in part of the Bear With community. Anyways, so Matt Walsh suspension.
Yeah.
My suspension. Matt Walsh never gets suspended. It's funny because his was actually a threat and mine was a pontification. But like whatever.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
And that's a call to violence to be like,
I don't
these
have
guys
as much
should be
pretty
executed.
privilege as Matt Walsh.
He's a beautiful bearded man.
He's scary looking.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was like, we had that moment where it's like the she's all that where you took your glasses off. It's like
For those who listen, they were blurry. I felt like they had to come off for a second. They might come off again. I
and
hate
then
the
her
glare.
hair was flowing.
This is not coming down.
I'm kidding.
I just got
I'm sorry.
that glare.
This is kind of sexist. I shouldn't do this.
It's all right. It's okay.
Pretty privilege. Matt Walsh.
So he made an actual threat.
He made an actual threat. Man, I am so not focused today. I think it's because I'm going through hell, but that's okay. We won't talk about that.
It's okay.
Because we can't talk publicly about that.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, so my friends are like, you would never say that to someone in real life. And I was like, God, you're right. And then I felt so bad. And I was like, man, I should be careful what I say online. And then I like was talking to my kid, Kyla. And I said to her, I'm like, yeah. And then it just gave me pause. The people on Marco Polo were like saying, you would never say that to someone in real life. And they weren't like jerks about it. Like they're super kind, sweet people. And I was just like having one of my pause to reflect, which I do, but not everyone I know does.
Sure.
Not mentioning any names.
No.
And so, yeah, when I was talking to my daughter about it, she's like, you would do that in real life. You would say that in real life to someone. And I'm like, oh my God, I totally would. Honestly.
I'm glad that's what you took from it.
Conversation with Matt Walsh, and he's like, these people serve no purpose. We should execute them. And I'd be like, and I would probably do this with a wink and a smile.
Oh, yeah.
And be like, well, you serve no purpose. Should we execute you? And that would be amazing in a podcast.
See, I've been waiting for somebody to take you're just a keyboard bully. You wouldn't say it to my face, to be like, you're right. I need to be ballsier in person and just really start telling people what I think, you know? Take it the other way.
Yeah. I should all caps people all the time.
All the time.
In real life.
That's the way to go, boomer.
That's the way to go, boomer. Oh, hey, so I was doing this thing on Facebook before I left Facebook. And I'm trying to, like, now that I'm back at Facebook, I want to start doing it again. Unpopular opinions. But
Right.
it's like, you know, like the premise is, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but, or any of you future people, future
I'm
people,
living
I
in
feel
the
like they're the
future.
unborn. I love the term unborn. It sounds so terrifying. The unborn are coming after
Unborn,
us.
preborn freaks me
Preborn.
out. No.
My wife and our pre-born child, I'm like, God, why? Why do you guys have to be so
Preborn.
effing weird?
There's got to be a better way to acknowledge, but also not be.
Yeah, I know
Preborn.
they're not comfortable with the term fetus because it doesn't sound like
Sure.
a person. Also, it kind of sounds like penis. So
It does. It does.
actually, if I was going to write a poem, I could rhyme fetus with penis.
I'm so excited for
No.
the tweets that come out in the next
I
day
made
or
a
two.
fetus with my penis. Oh, did you see my like I covet your prayers joke?
No, I don't think so.
I was like, your prayers are giving me a boner right now. I mean, I covet your prayers.
That's not okay.
Legit, one of my most evangelical friends liked it. And
Really?
it's wonderful.
Prayers are giving me a boner.
Okay.
No.
So anyways, okay, so the idea of the unpopular opinions, I can't believe this is like so much more ADHD than it's ever
Ever.
been. I'm enjoying it, and I hope the future people enjoy it. Future people, please let me know what you think of the podcast. I
Be
never
specific.
hear from you, and I find it hard to believe you exist. Maybe you don't. Maybe this is just catharsis for me and the girl. That's fine.
I don't see the numbers, so for all I know, this is just a phone call.
I see the numbers, and I don't want to see the numbers.
Okay.
But I only get the numbers for Spotify, and they're so
Oh.
tiny, it's depressing.
I
But
see. I
but
use
we're
like
also
Apple Pod.
on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and the YouTubes.
Amazon does podcasts, right? Do you have to? Are we on
Yeah, I
that
haven't
one?
figured that one out yet.
All right.
I'm like, who uses Amazon to listen to podcasts?
I use Amazon Music, but I
Oh, do you?
podcast. I do because it's part of
Okay.
Prime.
So maybe I will do that.
I mean, you're not going to get a new listener out of me because I'm subscribed through Apple
That's
Podcasts.
I bless you for your subscription.
What were we ever talking about? No idea.
Unpopular opinions. So the
Yes.
idea, that's why we have the list. Unpopular opinions. So there's like that whole like when people are saying unpopular opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll say something that is going to piss everyone off, right?
Yeah.
But I think we could take it next level because if we're going to say unpopular opinion, it doesn't have to be my opinion.
Oh,
Yeah. So I think one time I was like, unpopular opinion, the Earth is only 600 years old.
that's nobody's opinion. Okay. All right. That is the most unpopular thing. I
So,
thought it
yeah,
was going to
so-
be like unpopular opinion. So and so thinks this, like just airing out other people's opinions.
Oh, that's kind of fun too. But
600.
I think it's more fun to just do one that's like so ridiculous it couldn't be true.
I like this.
So this is my unpopular opinion. Nobody really likes country music.
I did see
They
this.
only pretend to like country music so they can get dirt road cred, which is kind of like street cred, but like
But dirt road.
country.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of proud of that one. Dirt road cred.
I like that. I think that's true. A friend of mine started getting into country music accidentally, just out of like, none of the music in the car was appropriate for my children, so I put on country. I was like, it's all dead dogs and cheating husbands, so I don't know why you thought country was appropriate for your kid either, but now they're into country.
The bar is weird for some people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's the whole like Stuff Christian Like by John Acuff, if we want to go way back.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
he's like watching rated R movies, but only if it's rated R for violence and not for sex.
That's so weird. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, just the way people segment things. And this is exactly what I was talking about with Josh Lawson. I remember his name. I remember all my guests' names. But Josh Lawson is special to me. We had a special moment on that podcast. Damn, I'm ruining it. But that's what we were talking about, like with horizontal versus vertical morality, right? And like how, like vertical morality is like, is God pleased with what I do? And if you fixate on only that, if you have
Yeah.
a shitty God, then you're going to be a shitty person.
Right.
And I think we're seeing that widely in our world. Very religious people are very shitty. And that's why. They're very shitty. I'm trying to say the T like delicately. Shitty.
You're nailing it. Nailing it.
Oh,
no,
well, thank you. Very kind.
You know, if your moral compass is off because the pole is off, then you're also going to be veering.
Well, and that's why, like, all these people that are like, the Bible is how I decide what's wrong or right. It's like, if you keep doing that, and I don't know why they always talk like that, but they do.
They do.
Somehow the Bible makes them that way. So
sound like an old crow.
An old Jim. No. That might be really wrong. I don't know. I don't even know who Jim Crow was. Was Jim Crow a person?
Oh, I'm
was
not.
he an African American person? Maybe.
I am startlingly ignorant right now and embarrassed. there's no way.
Country and their racist
I'm going to highlight
right?
that.
Our
Jim
racist
Crow
history is
laws,
totally different.
But I don't know if they're based on a person or.
I think it might have been based on a person. Jim Crow.
I was homeschooled. I don't know.
But I wasn't actually trying to do any kind of African American accent, just for the record. I was trying to do religious person.
Right.
And
I just thought you sounded like a cartoon crow.
It's like, what will the Bible say? What would the Bible say? Right? And I mean, it just drives me crazy because they're just like, well, according to the Bible. And I'm like, dude, you're just like so locked into these words that were written so very long ago by people that didn't understand so much about our world, and you're trying to apply it to today, but like say, no, we strictly have to see it this way.
Yeah.
And it just makes no sense. Like, it's not logical at all because you're so concerned with the vertical that you cannot see the horizontal.
Yeah.
And it's like characteristic of that gospel coalition article that everyone's losing their mind over. I never read the article, obviously, but the headline was like, I love my transgender child, but not as much as I love Jesus. And I thought Mindy said something about that I thought was so cool. And I'm trying to remember what she said. I didn't have this in my notes.
No.
But it's just like, just love your child.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what makes you think that you have to choose between Jesus and your child? Why is Jesus fundamentally opposed to your child? I will put a link to that Mindy tweet.
Children specifically, but yeah. No,
like, it's not like, and it's like, you can love your transgender child the way they need to be loved.
Yeah.
You don't understand what it's like to have gender dysphoria.
Right.
You have not had gender dysphoria. So for you to dictate to them how they should go through it is not right.
Right.
That is evil. And so it's like, you need to sit down and listen and learn from your child and help them through it. And do it prayerfully.
Sure.
Right? And figure it out. And I just like, for me, it's like, I feel like God is guiding me in all that I've done. I am conscious that God is with me and God is guiding me. And it may not look the way that evangelicals want it to look, but I don't care. And there are less and less evangelicals in my life. And the less I have, the more free I feel.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just going to love my children. That's what I do.
That's what Jesus would do. That's what Jesus does. So it's cool by me.
I actually went really hard on the whole, like, Jesus rest in peace thing.
That's
talking to this guy about, like, I was like, well, your Jesus is dead. Mine's alive. Because it's like, you're trying to, like, just look at the Jesus that's in the Bible and then, like, trying to fit your world into that. And I'm like, no. Jesus is alive. He's sitting right here right now. You know? I mean, it was fun conversation.
Absolutely. But like, even some of the New Testament laws had to do with the culture at the time and where God's people were. and all the apostles' letters that have to do with what was happening in these places, that it's like, well, if that was taken under consideration, then why is it not taken under consideration now?
Yeah, it's like we're eavesdropping in Paul's conversations, and then we're like, well, okay, now women need to
now this is going to apply over here somehow. Yeah.
Women need to cover up their heads so the angels don't get boners. Man, I should write my own translation of the Bible. I mean, it's essentially what Paul said.
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah. He didn't say boner per se, but it would have been way funnier if he did.
If he had, for sure.
Just a few notes for Paul. It could be a little more comedic. All right. Media sociologist Zineb Tufekci highlights how it is our social identities and the embeddedness of communication within networked communities that complicate the echo chamber concept. Wow, that's quite a word salad.
Yeah.
So,
I'm reading it along with you.
Social identities, network communities, echo chamber. We're talking about echo chambers here, future people. We should just call our fans future people.
Future people. We always are addressing them from the past.
What up, future people? I love you, future people. So the problem is that when we encounter opposing views in the age and context of social media, it's not like reading them in a newspaper while sitting alone. It's like hearing them from the opposing team while sitting with our fellow fans in a football stadium. Online, we're connected with our communities, and we seek approval from our like-minded peers. We bond with our team by yelling at the fans of the other one. I'm like, this is eye-opening. So it's like anything that goes through, like even that Gospel Coalition article, it's like I saw it so many times and I'm like, yes, rage. Let's all rage. This is dumb. And I mean, like, and Mindy came along with something that just was like, just love your child. Like it was, I think, here's what it was. This was the brilliant part of this. So Mindy does not have children. And this really hit me hard. She said, you don't get to decide whether you're a good parent or not. Your children do.
That is very true. That's hard to swallow.
So once in a while, I'll see moments of levity like that. Like we're having those fights and we're having that rah, rah, rah. And then once in a while, a Mindy comes along. She's a beautiful human being. She's got super cool style. I love her as a social media person crush.
Sure.
I'm crushing on Mindy. Okay.
All right.
Don't tell her.
I shan't.
Future
but
people.
Maybe.
Okay. Anyways. So it's so interesting. That's what's happening in social media. And it's just eye-opening when you start seeing that, because you can actually, like, I watched The Social Dilemma. I don't remember it per se, but I think it's just kind of like they're so driven by engagement that it doesn't matter where things go. Engagement's going to drive everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the same as like what we're talking about, like that film, The Sound of Freedom. And this whole like, I'm going to bust open the doors and rescue all these child sex slaves that are carted away from their country. And there's like this big international cartel and whatever. Yeah. And it's like, no, the reality is like sex trafficking looks like I have a queer kid. I kick them out of my house. They go couch surfing. Yeah. One day while couch surfing, someone says, yes, you can sleep on my couch, but only if you do this thing. Right. And that's just not as beautiful of a like that's not as sexy. Sexy is such a wrong word for this, but it's not as appealing a story that will actually get donations. So instead, all these organizations are pretending there's this big cartel that's doing all this. Right. And that's the problem with Sound of Freedom. And I will link to that podcast, which was phenomenal on that. Did I tell you about that before?
No, I would like to hear it because I haven't seen
podcast episode.
Sound of Freedom, but I follow a couple of organizations that go out through legal channels to stop sex trafficking, rescue kids and slaves and things like that. So I had a hard time with like, well, it seems like this movie's showing a thing that actually happens, but I wasn't aware of like the cartel, like that it's this whole. I think that's stupid. I want to watch it for the sake of it.
I honestly
But
love those creators that watch stuff so you don't have to.
yes,
Like, just stuff that you're like, I don't want to promote this by watching this. And so they watch it and then they tell you, like,
just tell me what's wrong with it so that I know. And
so I'd like to hear that too. There's going to be so many links in the show notes. Future people are looking at it right now and they're like, yeah, there are a lot of links in the show notes. Like, yeah.
Plentiful.
We're having a conversation here now. But anyways, yeah. And so that show, that podcast, I believe it's called You're Wrong About. Is that right?
Oh,
Future
yes.
People? Is that what I put in there? I think so. Yeah.
That sounds right. I've heard that. Okay.
And so, I mean, there's that, and it's just like, it makes me wonder how much of the nonprofit sector, and I also have a friend who's like a CEO of like a nonprofit sector, or nonprofit that helps nonprofits. It's like nonprofitception.
Oh, boy, so meta.
Yeah, and I was talking about it. I'm like, I wonder how much like the nonprofit sector is driven by capitalism, because it's like your cause has to be sexy enough that people are going to donate money to it.
Yeah.
So if it's something that's just like lame, like people get sex trafficked by their dad or their uncle.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, how we're not going to go stop that. No, we don't need money to stop that. Come on. Right. And so it does make me question a lot of that. And I think like the real problem with that is that people will then link that to QAnon, and then they link that to like how LGBTQ people are, grooming your children and all this stuff. And it's like, no. Grooming is when you have a youth pastor who's just waiting for that girl to get to the age of 18 so he can have a relationship with her.
I mean, I hope these people don't. I hope many people listen to this pod, but not them. But I lived through hey, really hanging out with that one. She's like 13, right? And just it was definitely not one-sided. I'm not going to put any blame on her for being young, but there was a definite like, what is up with them? Does she know that he's like 19, 20? Like, it's weird. No, nothing, as long as they could. And then so funny that the day after her 18th birthday, they were together and they were stamped down married before she was 21. So like, lived through that. It doesn't go well.
Yeah. And I'm like, I just think that it's just dangerous to have a power dynamic in a relationship. And it's like, I want to be a complete person, and it's like, I'm going to be as complete as possible. And I want someone who's as complete as I am.
Yes.
It's funny because I was talking to a kid, a Gen Zer, who's been dating the same person since like the age of 13.
Really?
And, yeah, I believe it's 13, maybe 14. But anyways, but now like, 19. And I was just like talking about like how, you should be complete. And it's like, well, me and my partner were not complete. And I'm like, okay, well, you two were at the same level of completeness though. And it's like, yeah. And I'm like, I think that's why it worked. Yeah. I'm just theorizing. I mean, what do I know? And so I just think that's interesting. I mean, like, it's a lot of it too is like, how can we be intellectually honest about what we do know and what we don't know if we're giving advice to people?
Yeah.
It's like, let's be very honest about it and say like, look, I've made my mistakes, but this is how I see it. Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, who really is an expert on any of this? It's like, nobody's perfect on that.
No.
On the relationship front. Like, no one's actually perfect. And if you did it right, how much of that was luck?
Yes. Yeah. Or just also part of the person that you were with. Not everything is transferable to the next relationship.
Yeah. All right. I saw this cool thing. It was a TikTok of the South Park creators.
Okay.
And they were like saying, instead of this happens, then this happens, it should be this happens, therefore this happens.
Okay.
And this happens, but this happens. And I'm like, so I think, you think about how successful South Park has been. Like, it's been going on forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it seems, and I haven't watched quite enough of South Park to be like, oh, I'm such a fan, but it's like, there is something enticing about it. And it's like, it goes beyond what typical writing is.
It's it seems like the dumbest word, especially when it's been around forever, but it's edgy to say the least. Like, they're not scared. They're not pulling punches. And I don't even think that that's a bad thing. I clearly remember sermons that were specifically against South Park when I was growing up because of just how irreverent it was, especially towards Christmas and Jesus. And I was like, but to everybody, they're not going after us specifically. I don't know. I think they're allowed to say a lot of things that I think they cartoon like you tweet. They can get away with saying a lot of things.
Yeah, I do get away with a lot. It's ridiculous. But I think it's because I'm sweet.
It's your sweet privilege.
Well, it's funny, yeah, because I've been thinking about that too. Like, just like the last couple of days too, I've been out and about in public. They let me out, and and just like having conversations with people and like kind of, you know, taking the time to understand people. And I feel like I'm like, oh my God, like people are so sweet when you're sweet to them. And I'm like, and it's not like I'm trying to get stuff out of people. Yeah. Like, I'm genuinely just thinking, how can I make this person's day better? And then they end up making my day better. And I'm like, this is cool. Like, I think the most charming thing you can do is like be genuinely kind.
Yes.
And you'll get far in life. Like, people will be like, yeah, I'm going to do whatever I can for this guy. Right. And
maybe that's what they mean with like manifestation, you know, of like, you know, if you're bringing kindness in, you're going to get kindness out. And that's just how we manifest good things. I don't know.
You know, as soon as you said manifestation, I thought of that guy who like drinks his son's blood to be like younger.
I saw that. Firstly, I don't think it's working as well as he thinks it is. I think he could just wear some really sunscreen.
Good. I saw him naked, and he's got great boobs.
I did not. I think I saw him in like a Wolverine tank top. That's about. I don't know why I went with Wolverine, but
yeah, he still looks 40. Like, you see in his face, it's like
all right, like, you're working on you.
Like, be a good 40. Like, who cares?
Just be 40. It's all right.
Yeah. Okay. I liked this too. Like, the truth repeated is a lie. This is Hinduism.
Okay.
They say the truth repeated is a lie, which sounds like such a dumb statement. It's a good oxymoron. I love oxymorons.
Yes.
They're my favorite kind of moron.
The truth repeated is a lie.
Oh, that's a good one. I should tweet that later.
Save that.
The truth repeated is a lie. That's from Hinduism. And it's like basically different experiences cannot be shared completely. And I'm like, oh, wow.
I think about that a lot in the middle of the night of like, even if I spent the entire day with like my family and whatever, and we did all the same things all day, we're not going to remember everything the same. And we didn't experience everything the same. Like this will send me into the spiral of like, well, what does green look like to you? Because maybe green looks different to me. Like and we can never know. But the truth repeated is a lie.
It's so profound.
I don't know what to do with that.
I love like when profundity sounds like stupidity the first time you hear it.
Then you're like, when you get that second level, it's like, that's dumb. Oh, wait. What I meant by that, yeah.
Well, and I think like I was reading John Caputo's book, What Should We Believe? And he talks about like there's bridge builders and then there are diggers. I don't think it was diggers, but essentially he meant diggers.
Yeah.
And he's like, so like bridge builders are always trying to like reach up to find God. And then these like diggers are actually digging as deep as they can. And that's where they find God. And he's like, if you go into any religious tradition and you dig deep enough, you will find good theology. You will find God. And I'm like, that's so beautiful. Like such a beautiful concept. Because there is just something rich about that tradition and digging deep into it.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of these people that are like, the Bible is the truth. It's like, dude, you're not digging deep enough. Like, let's dig deeper. Let's look at the metaphors and let's see what these metaphors could mean. And it's not about getting it right. To me, anyways, it's not about getting it right. It's like trying to extract what I can to be a better human being and to love better and love deeper. Like, it's like, can we do that? And it's like, no. We gotta just look at the words and believe them literally. Or even like, if you look at the context too, I'm just like, well, okay, yeah, that was a context for Paul when he said it at the time. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. However, that still doesn't tell us what the context should be now.
Right.
So I'm like, God is love. That's been my guiding principle for my whole deconstruction.
Yeah.
I'm like, I still believe God is love. I still believe God is right here with me and that God loves me. And it's like, I love my children no matter what. I love them so deeply.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind that there's a God that could love me even more than I love my children. Because I'm like, that's not even mathematically possible, man.
Yeah.
And my children love me back. And I've been going through so much hell. And the people who have my back right now are my children. They're returning the love that I gave to them. And it is just the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
And there's a friend that stays closer than a brother. And when I lay in bed at night, I can sense God with me, holding me. I think we might be done because I'm going to cry.
Think we out? But
thank you for listening, future people. I love you.
We love you. Tune in again next time. I don't know.
And we'll try not to cry.
It's okay.